Hi, I'm Renee, a retired educator turned wine bar conversationalist. This is Conversations Over Wine, where wisdom is poured and stories are shared. Each week, we slow down, pour a glass, and talk about life's lessons, aging with intention, and what really matters as we grow older. I'm so glad you're here. Let's begin. Before we go any further, I hope you're comfortable. Maybe you've poured a glass of wine. Maybe you're listening while taking a walk or at the end of a long day. However you're here, welcome. This first episode feels a little like inviting someone to sit down with me and saying, "Let me tell you why this podcast exists." For many years, I was an educator. Teaching wasn't just what I did, it was a lot of who I was. I spent decades listening, encouraging, asking questions, and helping kids make sense of the world and their place in it. Like many educators, I poured a lot of myself into that role. When retirement came, it opened up space, but it also raised a quiet question. Who am I now? What surprised me was where life led me next. I found myself working at a wine bar. Not something I ever would have predicted while grading papers late at night, but it turned out to be exactly where I needed to be. What I realized pretty quickly is that a wine bar isn't all that different from a classroom. People come in carrying their days with them. They sit down, they excel. And when you give people time and a little kindness, they talk. I've listened to stories about new beginnings, painful endings, marriages, divorces, health scares, money worries, adult children, aging parents, and dreams people thought they were too old to still have. There's something about a glass of wine that slows us down. It invites honesty. It makes room for truth. And then there was one night I'll never forget. One evening, a woman came into the wine bar alone. She was beautifully dressed, about my age, and there was a quiet sadness about her that you don't always notice unless you're really paying attention. She asked for a glass of wine, sat by herself for a long while, just sipping, just being. At one point, I heard her on the phone, and when she ended the call, she was sobbing. Not quietly, not politely, just real, unguarded grief. So I walked over. I didn't try to fix anything. My heart felt for her. I knew something was painful and pulling at her. I didn't really offer any advice. I just wanted to hug her. So I simply opened my arms, gave her a hug, and let her cry. After a few minutes, she told me it was her sister's birthday. Her sister, who had passed away a few years earlier. They had been very close. She was the best person I knew, she said. And there we stood, two women in a wine bar, holding space for love, loss, and memories. I will tell you, that moment stayed with me because what she needed wasn't any answers. It was just presence. It was permission to feel. It was someone willing to stand with her in that moment. Moments like this are why I'm here. Here, starting this podcast. Because as we get older, we carry more. more stories, more love, more loss, more memories. And we don't always have places where it feels safe to set those things down. Conversations over wine is meant to be that kind of space. This podcast is meant to be about life's lessons and the wisdom that comes from living them. It's about aging with intention, not fear. About defining what enough looks like when it comes to health, wealth, and relationships. And about slowing down long enough to ask, what really matters now? I don't know. I don't have all the answers, but I do believe wisdom grows when we listen to one another. Some episodes will just be me. I'm going to be sharing reflections, stories, and lessons I'm learning along the way. Other episodes may include guests, people with lived experience and stories that feel honest, familiar, and meaningful. This isn't a podcast about fixing you. It's about honoring where you are. It's about growing wiser with time and savoring the season of life instead of just rushing through it. So here's my invitation. If you're listening and thinking, this feels like me, then I'm really glad you're here. You don't need to have everything figured out. You just need a willingness to sit, sip, and reflect. My hope is that each episode feels like time well spent, like a good conversation that stays with you long after the glass is empty. So thank you for joining me as we sipped, savored, and reflected on this beautiful life we've been given. So until next time, cheers.